Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about my February hopefuls and my January reading wrap-up. So we're going to talk about everything I read this first month of the year. It was an okay month. It could have been better, but it wasn't bad. And then also what I'm planning on reading next month because I have a pretty ambitious month next month. Let's go ahead into January though. The first thing that I read was Variation by Rebecca Yarros. I actually think I'm gonna do a full review on this book because it was one of my favorite romance books that I have ever read. It was also the first Rebecca Yarros romance book that I've ever read, and I did give it a 5 stars. So much fun, and I think everyone should read it. It was a great way to start off 2025. After Variation, I actually buddy read a book with my best friend who's not the biggest reader, so that was a very fun moment for me, but we read The Housemaid and it was good. I read a lot of thrillers growing up and I have trained my brain to guess things pretty easily, so it was not shocking to me. I read a very, very similar thriller book in the past. It really shocked me, but it was good. It was a quick read. I think we read it in one day. I ended up giving it, I think, like a 3 stars. The next book I finished is one that we've all been talking about, which is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Apparently it was a Rebecca Yarros heavy month for me, which is fine. I enjoy her writing. I have a full video up. I will link it at the end of this video, talking about my deep dive analysis of this bad boy. I've got a bunch of tabs. It was a vibey time, but I have my thoughts. The next book that I finished, I actually did start in November and I kind of did it like a devotional, but it is The Well-Watered Woman by Gretchen Saffels. This is a Christian women's book. It's phenomenal. It really, really goes into almost the why of if you're having a dry season in your faith and you're just finding it really, really hard to connect with God. It goes into all of that. It goes into how we can get out of that. It goes into like real life things and struggles, and I absolutely ate it up. It was phenomenal, and I think that this would be really, really good for all stages of faith. For me, I am very strong in my faith and have been strong in my faith for a while. I didn't find this boring like everything that I've heard before, but I also think it was very easily digestible and understandable for somebody who is very new to their faith. This was a 5 stars for me. In January, I actually finished both of these on the last day of January. And the first one is The Curse of Ophelia. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to a Polycon, which is Jennifer L. Armentrout's book convention in April. One of the authors that's going to be there is Nicole Platania, who wrote the Curse of Ophelia series. It's something that's been on my list for a while. One of my friends on Book Talk, it's like one of her favorite series. She raves about it all the time. And I've never picked it up because the first book gets a 3.5 on Goodreads. And for me, if anything gets under a 3.8 on Goodreads, I typically will not pick it up because the general consensus is it's not that good. But she raves about this book, so I decided to give it a try, and I am so glad I did. Since it was on my Polycon list, now I'm going to be getting the book signed there, which is great, and I'll get to meet the author, but I actually devoured the first book. There was definitely a little 20-30% in the middle that was kind of slow, but the beginning and the ending were actually crazy, and it was such a breath of fresh air from any like fae focused series. It still has fae, but they're not the main focus at all. The main focus are these like angel warriors, and there's like angel bloodlines. Like, it's crazy. It's so good and felt so unique to me from everything else that I've been reading. And apparently the rest of the series is like unmatched good. So I will be starting the second book today. And the last book that I read is actually a novella. It's Out of the Gate by Elsie Silver. It was the only Elsie Silver thing that she has published that I hadn't read, so I figured I'd go ahead and read it. It was fine. It wasn't anything special. There's nothing you need to know in it for the whole like interconnected standalone. Gave it like a 3 stars. Let's move into my February hopefuls because I have a pretty long list. For some reason, almost every year February is one of my largest reading months, which makes 0 sense because it's the shortest month of the year. But I'm being ambitious this year with February. So starting out, I will be planning to finish the Curse of Ophelia series. So I read the first book and I have 4 more left, 3 full-length books and then 1 novella that's about 200 pages. So I'll have the Shards of Ophelia, Trials of Ophelia, and then the novella, which is The Breaker of Stars, and then The Myths of Ophelia. And then the last book in the series I think comes out this summer or fall. So then I'll have something to look forward to, another book to add to my release year. So right there we've got 4 books for the February TBR. I read 6 books in January. The next one that we have, I'm actually going to be picking up today, but it's the second book in this series, which is The Stars Are Dying. It's called The Night is Defying. I read this like 2 years ago when it was indie published, and they just came out with the second book, so I'm really excited about it. This book is a lot of controversy, and I'm one of the few people who was obsessed with it. So I'm highly excited for book 2. Then the next book that I have is Rebel Witch, which is the second book in the Crimson Moth or Heartless Hunter duology. I cannot wait to see how Gideon and Rune's story ends. I actually am so excited about it. And I'm only like 3 days away. It's going to be such a fun time, and I actually can't wait for her. Now for the books that I actually have on my physical TBR with me that I'm going to be reading in February. I'm going to be doing Blood Over Brighthaven, which I will be buddy reading this with one of my friends. This is the year that I want to step more into a little bit of epic fantasy. Now, this is not considered full-blown epic fantasy. It's more like a classic fantasy with a sprinkle of romantasy in there, which is why I picked it, because I think that it will be a good transition into a little bit more fantasy-focused writing. Other series that I want to do this year are like Jade City, Red Rising. I will be finishing The Will of the Many this year as well, but I'm waiting for a release date on that. But I've heard really good things about this. It's also a standalone, so just this book, and it's like 420 pages, I think. It's not super long. So very excited about this. Now this last one is a very not important one on my TBR. This is a As Time Permits. This is a feel like I might be going into a slump and I need to keep my momentum going, which is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Frida McFadden books, you know, you read them in a sitting. They always are super quick. They keep you entertained enough. I've read 2 of her books. Both of them I rated like a 3-4 stars. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Frida fan, but I enjoyed them and I read them in one sitting. But this one is probably the second most intriguing one to me. I also really want to do Ward D, but if time permits or if I feel like I'm slumping, I will pick up Never Lie. So we have 8 books on the February hopefuls. I am confident that I will get to 7 of them, because when I get obsessed with a series like I am with Curse of Ophelia, I fly through it. And also Rebel Witch. I can't wait. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Go check out my Onyx Storm review and analysis. It is a fun time. And I will see you guys next week.